They laughed when I walked in. I could hear the whispers rise like smoke in a burning room. "Is she the help?" someone muttered. I held the tray tighter, my palms already damp. The bride's family had insisted on hiring extra waitstaff for the wedding, and I needed the money. But what I did not know was that today, in front of all their smug faces, someone would change everything. Someone would hold my hand and never let go. Where are you watching from? Comment your city below. The country club ballroom sparkled with chandeliers and pretentious chatter. I wore a standard black dress with an apron, same as every other waitress, but for some reason, they picked me out. Maybe it was because I was the only one who looked too young, or too nervous, or just too out of place. As I passed by the bride's sister, she smirked and said loudly, "Careful. Don't drop anything this time, sweetheart." Her voice dripped with fake sweetness that made my skin crawl. A few others snickered. I did not respond. I had been raised to stay quiet, to work hard, and to never make scenes. But my throat tightened. I had done nothing to deserve this treatment, except show up and do my job. The worst part was the bride's mother. She looked me up and down like I was a stain on her perfect event. "Keep that one in the kitchen," she said to the head server, thinking I could not hear. But I did, and it stung more than I let on. As I returned with empty glasses to the back area, I leaned against the counter and inhaled deeply. I could not let them get to me. It was just another night. One more job. One more insult to survive. But when I stepped back into the hall, something strange happened. The groom was looking right at me. His eyes did not waver. In a room full of laughter, clinking glasses, and swirling dancers, the groom, dressed in a crisp black tuxedo, every strand of hair in place, was staring directly at me like I was the only person who existed. My feet froze mid-step. I looked behind me, unsure if he meant someone else. But no, his gaze did not shift. My heart thudded in my chest. Why was he looking at me like that? Did I do something wrong? Did I spill something? Was I about to be fired in the middle of a wedding? I turned quickly and rushed back toward the kitchen, pretending to adjust my tray. My hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but confusion. I had worked dozens of weddings before. No one ever noticed the staff. We were like shadows that cleaned and served and smiled. But this man, this groom, had looked at me like he knew me. Inside the back room, another waitress named Gina nudged me. "Hey, that guy's been staring at you all night. You okay?" she whispered. I shook my head. "I do not even know him." She raised an eyebrow. "Maybe he knows you." I did not answer, because deep inside, something strange stirred. A memory? A feeling? No. It had to be nothing. Minutes passed. I composed myself, grabbed a tray of champagne flutes, and stepped back out. I moved through the crowd, keeping my eyes low, trying to become invisible again. Then it happened. One of the bride's cousins, some smug guy in a designer suit with too much cologne, intentionally bumped into me. "Oh, sorry," he said mockingly, though it was clear he was not sorry at all. The tray tilted. One glass wobbled, but I steadied it just in time. From the corner of the room, I heard giggling. I glanced over and saw the bride's mother watching with thinly veiled glee. My cheeks burned. I turned to step away, only to find myself face to face with the groom. He stood in front of me, closer than anyone had the entire night. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes were kind. "Come." "I need a glass," he said softly. I nodded, placing one on a napkin and holding it out. But instead of taking it, he gently took the tray from my hands. And then he took my hand, right there, in front of everyone. Silence rippled across the room. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The music continued to play, but it sounded distant, like it belonged to another world. My hand was in his. Warm, steady, purposeful, and completely out of place in a hall full of people who saw me as nothing more than a shadow in an apron. Whispers started almost instantly. "Is that the waitress? What is he doing? Is this some kind of joke?" I tried to pull away, my face flushing hot with panic. "Sir," I whispered under my breath, terrified of causing a scene. but he gently tightened his grip. "No," he said clearly. "Stay." The bride, standing at the edge of the dance floor, turned sharply. Her smile vanished. "Liam," she said. Her voice cracked on the second syllable. Liam. So that was his name. He turned toward her slowly, but he did not let go of my hand. "I want to say something," he announced. His voice echoed through the hall. Every guest fell silent. "Before this night continues, before we pretend everything is perfect, I need to speak." He looked around at the rows of judgmental eyes, at the bride's family frozen in horror, at the whispers that had now turned into stunned silence. "This woman," he said, lifting our joined hands slightly, "is not just a waitress." My breath caught. My throat felt tight. She is someone I knew. Years ago, when my life was falling apart and I had nothing, she helped me. She gave me food when I had not eaten in 2 days. She spoke to me like I mattered when I felt invisible. And she expected nothing in return. Gasps filled the room. "She probably does not even remember it," he said, glancing at me. "But I do. I never forgot. And when I saw her tonight, I realized something. The bride was pale now, her lipstick smudged from how tightly her mouth was pressed shut. I realized I am about to marry into a family that mocks kindness, that humiliates someone doing honest work, that treats people like dirt based on the clothes they wear." Someone dropped a fork. It clattered loudly. "I cannot do it," Liam said. "I will not go through with this wedding." I shook my head, too stunned to speak. "Please, you don't have to do this," I whispered. He turned to me fully. "Yes, I do." I could hear the shallow breaths around the hall, like the whole room was gasping, but no one knew how to exhale. The bride's mascara had started to smudge, her eyes wide with disbelief, trembling as she stepped forward. "You're kidding," she said, voice cracking. "You're ending the wedding for her?" Liam turned to face her. "Calm. Steady. I'm ending the wedding because this entire event is built on cruelty. You watched your family mock her, and you said nothing. You laughed. That tells me everything I need to know." Her jaw fell open, but no words came out. I could feel every eye locked on me, heat rising in my neck. My hand was still in his, and I could not understand why. Why now? Why here? "I never asked for this," I whispered to him. "I just came to work. And you did. You worked with grace, even when they humiliated you. I should have spoken up sooner. But I will not stay silent now." The bride's mother stepped forward. "This is absurd," she spat. "She is staff. You cannot be serious." Liam looked at her, calm but cold. "You know nothing about her." "I know enough," she snapped. "She probably grew up in a trailer. Probably has no education. Probably." "Enough," he interrupted. "You're proving my point." The room buzzed with whispers again. One guest had already started recording on their phone. Another clutched her pearls like it was a Victorian scandal unfolding before her eyes. Then Liam turned to me again. "I've made enough mistakes in life by staying quiet, but I won't make one tonight." He stepped closer. "I do not know if you remember me from that night. You were working late at the diner off Route 47. It was raining. I was soaked, broke, and desperate. You gave me hot coffee and told me not to give up. You even gave me your umbrella." The memory clicked. It was years ago. I barely remembered his face, but I did remember that night. I had stayed late for a double shift and found a shivering young man sitting outside. I never asked his name. I just offered him warmth because it was what my mother had taught me to do. "You got on your feet?" I asked quietly. He smiled. "I did. And I never forgot the woman who treated me like a human being when I felt like nothing." More whispers. More stares. And then he did the unthinkable. He brought my hand to his chest and said, "If you'll let me, I want to take you to dinner. After this madness ends." The bride gasped. The guests froze. And I, speechless, could only blink. The room cracked like ice under pressure, low murmurs, dropped jaws, and utter disbelief coating the space like fog. No one could make sense of what was happening. The groom had just called off the wedding. For a waitress. For me. I looked down at my shoes, my heart pounding so loudly it drowned out the music. I could feel the bride's fury like heat on the back of my neck. I did not want this chaos. I did not ask for any of it. But Liam, he stood firm. The bride stepped toward us. You are humiliating me, she shrieked, her voice rising above the whispers. Do you have any idea what you're doing? Liam turned, still holding my hand. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm choosing kindness over cruelty. And I'm done pretending for your family's approval. You don't even know her, she shot back. I know enough. I know she gave more with empty pockets than any of you gave with overflowing ones. The bride's mother stormed forward. This is outrageous. You're throwing away your future. No, Liam said. I'm finally stepping into it. I felt frozen. Not with fear, but with disbelief. No one had ever stood up for me before, especially not like this. My mind was racing, but my heart, it felt strangely still. Then something even more surreal happened. A guest from the far end of the hall, a man in his 60s, wearing a navy blue suit, stood up and cleared his throat. I don't usually speak at weddings, but I just want to say, I respect this man's courage. Heads turned. He continued, too many times we watch people get walked on just because they're not rich or dressed a certain way. I say, good for him. Good for standing up. Another guest clapped. Then another. And another. I watched in awe as polite applause slowly turned into something real. The same crowd that had mocked me minutes earlier was now applauding a man who chose heart over image. Liam looked at me. I don't expect anything from you. I just needed to make this right. I opened my mouth to speak, but emotion choked the words. The bride turned and stormed off, heels clacking furiously as her dress swished behind her. Liam squeezed my hand gently. You okay? I nodded, somehow managing a tiny smile. But in my chest, something warm bloomed. Something I had never felt before. Dignity. Liam guided me gently through the crowd. People parted like a tide, murmuring, staring, some in awe, some in disbelief. I felt exposed, like every light in the room was aimed at me, but for the first time in my life, I did not feel small. We stepped outside into the cool evening air. I could still hear voices buzzing inside, the sound of a wedding unraveling, but out here, it was quiet, peaceful. I'm sorry, I said softly, still struggling to find words. You did not have to do that for me. He shook his head. I did not do it for you. I did it for me. Because I have lived my whole life letting people push me around, tell me who I should be, who I should love. Tonight, I finally stopped. I looked up at him, really looked. He was not just the groom. Not just the man who called off a wedding. He was the boy from that rainy night, only now, standing tall, confident, whole. I never expected you to remember me, I said. He smiled. I never forgot you. We sat on a bench near the entrance, neither of us speaking for a while. I watched his fingers still holding mine. There was nothing forced about it. No pressure. No expectations. Just presence. Do you want to get out of here? He asked eventually. Not forever. Just for tonight. Talk. Laugh. Maybe breathe. I exhaled a laugh, shaking my head. You're unbelievable. He chuckled. I've been told that before. I nodded slowly. Okay, but on one condition. What's that? You let me pay for dessert. He blinked, then laughed. A deep, genuine sound that made my stomach flutter. Deal. As we walked to his car, the stars shimmered above like tiny miracles. Behind us, the bride's family stood by the ballroom doors, watching with expressions they could not hide. They had mocked me, tried to shame me, but in the end, they were left behind while I walked away with my head high. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness ripple further than we ever imagine. Sometimes, what you give when you have nothing returns when you least expect it. That night, I had arrived with nothing more than a tray of glasses, and left holding someone's heart.